Hi, welcome to the RAMS Agents Production Coaching Call. The goal of the call is to help you sell more homes by maximizing your repeat and referral closings by implementing the Referral Agent Mastery System into your practice. My name is Mike Cerrone, co-founder of RAMS Agents, and my co-host is Angela Newman, a master trainer of RAMS Agents. Hello, Angela. How are you today?
Good morning, everybody. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic. All right, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and start with some good news. Who has some good news they'd like to share?
I do have some good news. I had a call, actually, it was a text last week from my former boss at a company that I used to work for, uh, a TV station I used to work for. And he was texting me saying, "Hey, Blake, I'm ready to start looking at investing and looking for an investment property. And can you help me out with that?" So, of course, the answer was yes. And that was good news. So we already, um, I have a brokerage engage representation agreement already signed with him and his wife, and we are actively. We went Saturday and looked at properties, so we're actively looking for his and hers first investment property. Very
Wow.
exciting. Yeah.
Well, they're in good hands.
Yes, they are in good hands. This I'll share this with you because he told me he said, "Blake, when we started putting this idea together, we're going to go ahead and take the jump and get into investing." And they've done a lot of research. They have their lender already lined up. They've got family that's involved in real estate investing, so they had a lot of input before they came to me. And when they when he said, "I was thinking about, who's going to be my realtor." And he said, "I thought it would either be you or nobody." What a great way to say that. I appreciated that very much.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Blake, now you said that was a person from your past, from working your sphere, in this case, people you worked with in the prior career.
correct.
I've known a lot of people who've done very well with that. So make sure anybody that's newer, you're tapping into that. Even if you've been around in real estate for a while, be sure, and you haven't done it yet, go back and add the folks that you've worked with in the past. You may not remember them or think about them immediately as part of your PCSOI, past clients and sphere of influence, but it's a great group. Blake, were you staying in touch with this person? And if so, how?
I was loosely staying in touch, primarily through social media, through LinkedIn, and probably I don't think no other social media, just LinkedIn, and then also just mutual connections. I had not been calling or directly contacting him, you know, but yeah, through we have other people that I stayed in contact with as well that are we're mutual friends with. So yes, there was kind of this was a little bit of a surprise actually. And he and I, of course, left on great terms, and so there was no reason not to be contacting him, other than just, when you step away from a career, you kind of want to give it a little space for a little while. That was the only thing. That was the only reason I wasn't calling him regularly.
So this
Probably.
person was not on your PCSOI list.
He was not. No.
In retrospect, do you think you should have added him?
Good question. Probably so. Probably so. Yeah. In fact, I think the lesson from that is had he not been as ready to do business with me as he was, maybe that contact I would have had with him would have been that nudge over. In this particular case, it worked out in my favor, but likely there's other people that may be in the same position that are not getting that nudge, that could use a nudge.
Right. And that's my thought. So are you going to go back maybe? Are there other people at the prior work that maybe should be added to your PCSOI and reminded of your new career and what you're doing?
Yeah, there probably are. Now that I'm thinking about it more, I was selling advertising. So that was one of the things. And I'm remembering now some of my coworkers, I don't talk to my former coworkers. I don't talk to them as much because they're going to want to sell me advertising. And I am spending some money in advertising, but not with them. So I'm just now thinking that through and remembering that I had actually made a decision. I'm going to be careful where I tread there. But no, I need to go back. There's plenty of them I can contact that's not going to be an issue.
An interesting challenge. Um, you can always say that your budget's just not big enough to do it because it's radio and television.
Right.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking back. There are a lot of agents that I've spoken to over the years who've done very, very well advertising in that big medium. Even some recently
Oh
through
yeah.
either radio or advertising. It is costly. Um, just some quick highlights if you do decide to go that route. Again, you're in the industry, you probably already know this, but for everybody else, and you can add on to whatever I say, you'll have more
Yeah, I
inside track
actually
on it.
I actually intended to and do still intend to actually spend money at that TV station where I used to work, but I am waiting for the right situation and timing on that.
The things I've heard
Yeah.
that work the best seems to be more radio than TV as far as agents doing well. Now, when thinking back in my mind, and the thing that they do is they like to get one of the popular hosts of a radio show, someone who's already popular, to endorse their product, endorse them and their service in this case, and speak about them in a little clip. And then the agent will spend money to promote that during the drive times. For radio, the drive times are the big listening hours. So either rush hour in the morning or rush hour at night, in the evening. That's kind of the formula that they use. And the more they can get into a testimonial style, the better. And the more natural from the host, the better. And if the host happens to have a show during those hours, it's even like a double, triple win because people think they're listening to the show when they're actually listening to the ad. So those are just some of the things that I remember from talking to agents who've done really well in that space before. Do you have anything to add to that, Blake, since you're from the industry?
Yeah, from the industry, that's very that's pretty accurate description of the best thing in radio. My for using radio in that manner. Um, Having the testimonials from radio personalities. It just so happens that the personality, if I were to do that, the personality that is my best friend in radio and really my would be the guy that would need to do that. His wife is a realtor, so I really am not going to ask him to endorse me on the air when it's known that his wife is a realtor. It's
Oh,
definitely known.
does she pay for ads though on with the station?
No, she doesn't.
There still may be an opportunity there if you decide
Yeah.
to in the
Yeah.
future. The other thing is if you go down that route, you have to be willing to work a large area of business,
Right.
a large geographic area, because the radio is going all over the town or all over the area, the metro or even beyond. And so those agents do tend to drive a lot um, because it's such a big area. But also because of that, they can get a lot of business, a lot of diverse business. So
Good
very
point.
interesting. And we're talking people that are they'll do 50, 100, 200 closings a year out of that kind of a model. It can really drive a lot of business.
Agreed. Agreed. It can. Yes, absolutely. I'm an advocate for radio and television advertising because I was in that industry for a long time. So I definitely believe in
And you got an inside track. Maybe they do you a special deal.
it. Maybe so.
All right, cool. Cool. Well, good job, Blake. That was great. Good news. Thank you for sharing. Anybody have any questions for Blake about his good news? Any questions or advice? All right. Well, let's keep rolling then. Anybody else got some good news that they'd like to share today? Anything happening well in your business that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I would like to introduce Erin. So, Erin is a new member of RAMS Agents and also a member of my organization. And yeah, this is her first meeting to join us.
Welcome, Aaron.
Can we take just like a minute and explain kind of the purpose of this meeting and kind of the vision for it?
Sure,
So,
Angela, would you like to run with that, or do you want me to do that?
yeah, I've already given her my perspective. So maybe, Mike, if you could give yours.
Sure. So the objective with our meeting is we come together. This is our production call. We do 2 calls a week. One is on production and one is on attraction. So production is how do you sell more homes? Attraction is how do you bring more agents into your organization, whether that be you're on a team or a brokerage or a revenue share downline. And so again, this call is production. How do we sell more homes? We like to zoom in on the idea of through repeat and referral. That's the hot topic. But we do often branch out. We'll talk about any way to produce business, like we just talked about radio and television for a second. So because we believe there's the concept of your business should be a funnel. The core of the funnel is going to be repeat and referrals. All right, and that should be the core of your business. It should be established first. Once that's established, if you're not getting enough closings that you want, then you want to add on top of that outside business from outside of your PCSOI, and because that's going to be a broader, more expensive, more time and intensive exercise. But we're going to talk about that level as well, and how you can basically take people from that you don't know out there in that wider audience and turn them into past clients, for instance, so you can bring them into your tighter funnel. So that's the concept of RAMS, the Referral Agent Mastery System. That's the concept of the call and what we do. Angela, would you like to add anything? Did I miss anything?
No, yeah, that's perfect. In this particular call, we have agents from all over the United States as well as Canada. We have different brokerages. So this is just a very open, we like to call it a mastermind sometimes because we all get together and if we have a problem, we can talk about it, come up with the solution.
Correct. And sometimes we'll come in with a hot topic we'll expand on. Sometimes it's more open, like we're doing today, where we're going to talk about items as they come up. Always bring your hot issue. If you have a hot challenge that you would like to share with the group and get a feedback on, this is the call to bring it to as far as selling more homes. Bring that in and be sure to mention that early so we can all focus in on it. And what I like to do is I like to go through good news, to get some good news going first. Then we're going to open up for your questions about, hey, do you have a hot topic? And then we will go into either something that we have pre-planned or we'll go into the idea of RAMS and the system itself and get dive deep into that. All right, so let's keep going through. I just want to make sure if anybody had any other good news they wanted to share, we got it out there. So anybody else have some good news you'd like to share before we move to the next topic?
Well, I got a listing agreement signed yesterday. It's a rental lease right now up, but we're gonna now transition to for lease or sale. So we're gonna add that.
That's fantastic, Angela. That's great news. Congratulations. Yeah. And you never know where these pieces of business come from. When you start talking to the old timers for a long time, well, you talk to people who've been experienced, let's put it that way. They've been in the business for a long time. One of the things you'll start to hear is make sure that you go and you meet with as many people as possible because you don't know what that's going to lead to. Like I don't know if you guys ever do this. I do it all the time and I have to stop myself. I used to do it a lot when I first got in the business, almost to my detriment. I would immediately try to qualify the person I was talking to, say on the phone or in person. I try to qualify them real fast in my mind. Should I spend any more time with this person? And as far as business, because you only want to spend time with people who are going to buy and sell homes, right? Well, that was my focus, and it worked. I sold a lot of homes, but I lost out on a lot of business too because I wasn't open to making connections with people that could lead to additional business. And so I have to warn myself and catch myself all the time. And and I'm just trying to help you all as well. Trying to make as many connections with as many people. Uh, and a good example is listings. Old philosophy on going on a listing appointment was you didn't go unless they were completely pre-qualified. By the way, they came out of a slower market, which we're going into, and that may become a better rule as we move along. But I would never go on a listing appointment unless I knew exactly what was going on in their situation. I completely knew that they were motivated, they had the ability to sell. I knew everything about them before I would go meet with them. And again, it worked well. I listed 21 homes in 30 days one time. So that philosophy can work. Uh, the downside is you don't see the connections to other opportunities. And so if you start to talk to people who did even more business than me, their philosophy was different. They would meet anybody, anytime who had any interest at all in selling without pre-qualifying them. And I'm like, why would you do that? And well, I don't know, maybe because the guy sold 400 homes the last year. I mean, he figured something out. He knew that connections were more important than the qualifying. And maybe yours is going to land somewhere in the middle. So I'll give a quick example, something that reminded me of this yesterday. I just took a listing last week of an expired, and I've shared that story with you that was from 6 months ago, et cetera, and a lot of follow-up. Anyway, in the prior experience with her, she was going to sell and buy, and then she decided now she didn't want to do anything. And then in this latest reiteration, she came and said, look, I just want to sell because our market's changing and slowing down. She said, I just want to sell, and I just want to rent for a couple of years, and then we'll do something else later. I'm just like, great, no problem. So we're lining it up to sell her property. And yesterday, I'm texting. She's a big texter. I'm trying to get used to that. But she's texting back and forth, and we're asking questions about how to fill out the MLS, some benign stuff. And we get kind of done with that. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, she texts me and says, all right, Mike, we got to speed up the sell of this property because this is the property I want to buy next. I'm like, what? Where'd that come out from? That came out of the blue. I thought you were just selling. So these people that you think they're only going to do one thing, they may want to do multiple things, or they may be a lot of other opportunities that you're not tapping into and you won't learn about unless you're in relationship with them. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So maybe that's helpful in some way. But Angela, great job. So good job getting in there. Good job getting that listing. Great job building that relationship out. Again, never know where it's going to lead down the road. All right. Anybody else have some good news you'd like to share? All right, cool. Well, let's do this. I don't want to forget this. Let's open up for any hot topics. Do you have anything that's challenging you that you want to put in front of the mastermind to get an answer on and have us kind of focus on for a few minutes to get some feedback on? Either a question, a challenge, something you've run into, even something you want to brag about. This is a great opportunity to do that and get it out there in front of the group.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Hi, guys.
Kevin.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Yeah, me as well. So I have a question. I have a question regarding multifamily. So I have right now like two listings, yeah, for sale, and the question actually like looks like that. If I have like new buyers, I feel like it's difficult for me to sell them the multifamily. When I work with the listings, it's another story. It's fine. But like when I work with the buyers, it's kind of like what I have to kind of like change in myself. It's explain them how it works. I know like, like from the investment point, people want to buy and make money on it. But like in many cases, when you buy in the multifamily, you cannot make money right away. And when people ask me this question, I explain them, and they give up on buying like multifamily. They start buying like single families or condo. But I'm like an agent, can make more money if I will sell like multifamily, of course. So how you guys handle maybe this question if you have buyers who ask you about multifamily, how you try to kind of like give them right direction, not to kind of like, lose the point of sale, because some of the people trying to buy multifamily on our market in Illinois, like it's still expensive. And on cash flow, it's better to buy the condo, not the multifamily. So this is my question. How?
So let me narrow in. I want to zoom in on the actual question. I want to make sure we got the topic right. So is the topic
Yep.
uh, promoting or talking to a buyer about purchasing multifamily, or is the topic working with family members? Because you mentioned family at the beginning. So I just want to make sure we're on the right topic.
No, buying the multifamily, I mean, I said.
Okay, great. So the question is
Yeah,
go ahead.
the question how to kind of like work with the buyers not to lose their intention to buy multifamily,
Let me
like three
ask
to
us,
four
go
units.
ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, we had some feedback and a little static, so I'm jumping in, I think, a little too quick. Um,
Okay.
where is it breaking down for you, Yevon? Like what happens specifically where you're talking to, like, what are you actually doing now what you think is not working?
I explain them the numbers. I talk about cash flow. I tell them like if you buy like 2, 3 units building, it's not gonna work on cash flow. You can just get like tax benefits from that, yeah, because it's depreciate. I mean, it's you put some like things on depreciation, and people make money on appreciation in the future, right? Like when they sell in the next 5, 10 years. And that's what we talk about. But most of my clients, they want to make the cash flow. And they said, okay, if it's like no cash flow for next 2, 3 years, so it don't make sense to buy. And that's it. And they start talk about, single families, small single families again, or like small condo. And our market, like for multifamilies, it's like between 500 and 600,000. So it's a kind of like good commission. It's a nice buildings. But most of my clients, when we start talking about it, like just decided not to buy. So that's the kind of like case.
When you say multifamily, what are we talking about? Are these duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes? Are they 4 units and
Correct.
under?
Yes, up to 4 units. Correct.
So the beauty of under 4 units and less is that you can get traditional financing on that if they live in one of the units, right? And that's kind of an interesting model. They can live in one and rent out the others, be right there hands-on. It's actually been, it's rarely used, but it's actually a really great model for a first-time home buyer to get in. However, the cash flows do have to work. And you just mentioned they're not working. Is that because it was a duplex? Was it not working cash flow wise on a fourplex?
Yeah, because most of the clients they want to put like 10% down, yeah, live in one unit, rent it out like 2 other units, and they have to pay around like I don't know $5,000 in total, yeah, principal, interest, tax, and insurance, and it's like they have to pay out of pocket $1,000, like to each month plus additional expenses, whatever it comes, like broken ACs, like heating system, roofs, and things like that. So it means like they have to pay 12, $1,000 each year plus additional expenses if it's something broken. And they said, I mean, we have to put around like 10%. It's like 60K plus like 10K on closing, it's 70K. And I mean, it's kind of a lot of money for most of the buyers, and they said like we still have to pay like additional maybe like 15 to 20K each month because sometimes each year, I'm sorry, because it's sometimes things can go wrong.
Sure. And you got vacancy, you've got all these other challenges that you have when you rent properties out. Also, by putting 10% down, you have PMI. So you're going to have a bigger mortgage payment just because it's a larger amount. You're going to have more payments because of the mortgage insurance. So that's adding to their expenses. I actually like the fact that you're talking to them about the downside of owning these multi-units. And what you've got to do, Yevon, I think it's got to be a change in your attitude of, hey, I want to push these people into this deal because I'll make more commission, which is absolutely true. To, hey, I want to warn these people And I want to push them away from multi-unit. And if they push back, and say, no, yeah, but this is what I really want to do, now they're a good candidate for multi-unit because they're ready to take on the challenges. You know, you want to be careful that because you want these people to buy and sell homes from you over the next 20, 30 years, right? And so you want to make sure that you're really protecting their interest moving in, and they know they're doing it wide-eyed. They're doing it wide-eyed. That's really why I like what I heard what you were saying is you've explained to them these challenges they can bump into. And if they're wide-eyed and they're ready to move forward, awesome. You have got an awesome investor who has a higher probability of success than someone who walks in blind and is just they're going to get blindsided and they're going to get knocked over. And in less than a year, they're going to be calling you up wanting to sell it. I guess you make a couple commissions real quick, year one and year two, but your reputation is going to go down because they're going to be telling everybody, yeah, Yevon just kind of pushed me into that thing. And you really instead want to find those people that truly want multi-unit and they're willing to go through the heartache and the challenges. And those people are going to probably buy not only this, but they're going to then step up to 10 units and they're going to step up to 50 units and eventually 100 units or 300 units. You know, they can get to be a massive win for you down the line. And they're going to attract other people like them. Does that make sense? They're going to attract other entrepreneurial minded homeowners that are going to result in more business. So I don't have any fancy language, just me. We'll ask the group. I don't have any fancy language. I like what you did. I like that you went through the numbers. I like that you explained the pitfalls or the downside. If anything, I would tell you to push that harder to try to get them to push against you. I would say things like, you know, Yevon, I'm not sure you even want to do multi-unit. This is a real challenge. Yeah, I know you can make a lot of money down the line. I mean, we all know you can make a lot of money in the future and you can make some cash flow today and you get tax write-offs and stuff, but it's a lot of work. I don't know if you want to do this. Are you sure you're up for this? See how I pushed against the idea? And I'm not doing that to trick them. What I'm trying to do is find out how serious they are. Because if they push back against me and say, oh no, Mike, I really want to do this. You know, I've seen a family member do it, or I had a friend do it, or I read it in a book, or I've got this dream and I want to end up eventually owning 100 units. You know, they start pushing against that, then they're my right person. And if they're not, then they're not ready to do it. And the other thing you can say is, you know, maybe Yevon, this isn't the right property for you, or this type of property. Maybe you need to start with something smaller. Maybe you need to start with something smaller. Maybe just start with a condo rental or a house rental. Again, I'm saying that to find out what they want to do, and they might push against it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say about the push against?
Yep.
You'll find out their true desire and motivation by pushing against, by painting pictures they don't want. Do you understand what I mean by painting pictures, by creating a future scenario?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Yevon, you're a very talented guy, and you probably could talk somebody into doing something if you really pushed. I recommend you don't. I recommend you actually work against that and say, don't do this. Here's why you shouldn't do it. Not in a negative way. Just say, here are the reasons why people don't want to get involved in multi-unit. What do you think about that? And they're going to tell you. Aaron, I think I just saw you come in. Do you have a comment?
Do you think that maybe instead of being like, don't do this, maybe presenting them as what are you looking for? A short-term investment versus a long-term investment. Not that it's so much negative, but that you're not going to see your return until the long run. So it may be that they do see themselves in a multi-unit. However, their current situation does not allow them. So they're logically thinking, well, that's not going to work for me. I would rather get my return fast versus a long-term investment. Or like you said, maybe use it, you know, like when you have a buyer and you tell them, this is a starter home. Well, maybe build your, you know, portfolio and they can start buying these small units. And eventually, once they have that income from all those rentals, then they can, you know, like graduate to getting a larger multi-unit. but I think maybe presenting it as a what is yeah, I get really making them make the decision, but maybe presenting it like a long-term versus short-term investment and what's going to work best for them and their current situation or their goals.
A good point, Aaron. It's a really good point. And along those lines, long-term, short-term would be a flipper versus a holder. Are these people that want to fix something up and sell it right away? Or are these people that want to hold it longer, get the cash flow, the depreciation, the long-term win? Which camp do they sit in? That's a great point, Aaron.
Yeah,
to,
like
to
how
really
long do they
label that out.
Yeah, are they looking to commit, to get married to this unit for a longer period of time, or are they just wanting to date this unit, get their money, get the advantages now, and then move on to the next one?
That's a great picture word you just used, marriage. Do you want to marry this property, or do you just want to date it? Right? So long-term versus short-term. That's kind of an interesting approach. I'm always looking for picture words that helps people get it in their mind, and they'll keep it. Stories, picture words, they'll keep them longer. Aaron, that's a really good point. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to throw in?
I had a couple of thoughts. So, when you're doing your initial like buyer investigation conversation where you're trying to determine their needs, what their goals are, what they're looking for, that's a good time to kind of understand what their comfort zone is. Um, but then you can also, to help determine what path to take them on, um, share some stories. And because especially if they're not clear on what direction they want to go in. Um, and then of course, I always like to give options, consequences on each option, and then recommendations depending on what their goal is and their comfort zone. And I can remember back when I first invested in real estate and because of the market, the interest rate and all that, I did not have cash flow. But mentally, I was okay with that because I was okay with paying $250 out of my pocket every month for the unit, as well as paying for all the repairs out of my pocket because I knew that I wanted to hold it long term, like going back to what Aaron said, and that I was willing to ride that out. But there is, of course, things that can happen. So you have to financially be able to make the repairs and pay that and all of that kind of thing. You have to be able, if they move out, be able to pay for that out of your pocket. But what happened is that over time, the rent that I got back then now is way more compared to what I got back then, but my payment is still the same. So that was an investment that I was willing to make at that time to invest in my company. I was willing to invest that $250 a month per unit, knowing that appreciation would happen over time, that rental rates eventually should go up, and now I cash flow great. The other thing that you can do is explain the condos, and I'm sure that in your area, condos, you have a HOA fee too. Is that right, Evan?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So with condos, they can be a little tricky, here, like not all condos will qualify for FHA financing, and there's a lot of things that they have to think about for future if they wanted to resell it. But the HOA fee, if so when you have like a 2, 3, 4 unit, if one person moves out, you're still getting that income coming in. If you have a condo and that person moves out, of course, you have to pay that HOA fee, you have to pay your mortgage, you have to pay all of that. And so going back to like giving them the data, the math, the options. So I like also to show them the end result. So the appreciation is important when you're investing. It really comes down to educating them on what is their goal. It's to make money. It's to have long-term wealth building up. So showing them that if they bought this fourplex at $150,000 a unit, and yeah, they may be pulling a little bit out of pocket, but in the end, this is what they're going to get. They're going to get a $600,000 property that's mostly being paid for that will appreciate over the next 5 years, potentially at this, because we're going to look back at the past to figure that out, but potentially at this or this at 10 years versus if they bought one condo now and then they waited a year and bought another condo and then another year and they bought another condo. Show them the math. And then again, it comes down to at the end, okay, so here's your options. You can do this, this, or this. With the, what do they say? The saying is, you get the greatest return with the greatest amount of risk. So there may be more risk. What if all three of your people moved out of your fourplex and then you had the whole payment that you had to pay for yourself? There's always that risk. But if you are financially okay to where you think you could handle that, you have that comfort zone, that's what I would do. I would go for it, you know. And then, so that's your recommendation. Based off of your situation, you have some money saved up, you have equity you can tap into. I would go for the fourplex because your goal is long term, and long term, this is going to be your best investment. But sometimes their situation is they don't have any money saved up. They are just getting started, and maybe that condo is a better option or a small house.
Very good. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, it's a lot of kind of like information. Yeah, you throw on me. Cool. Thank you.
Good job, everybody. Thank you for pitching in and helping out. You have a couple other quick ideas in those early consulting meetings. You might want to paint pictures through storytelling. So here is a storytelling of someone who purchased a single family home versus here is the story of somebody who bought a multi-unit, and here's what happened 5 years later. Okay, so you can do that projection out. Another quick concept is, hey, if you get 10% return on a house, you'll earn 30,000, but if you get 10% return on this triplex, you can get 60,000. Are you more concerned about the upside or the annual expenses? You show them that the same percentage return on the different assets will be a different return in the future. They'll be much bigger on the larger dollared asset, right? And that's what Angela was going into, like what are their big picture goals? If you find out what their big picture goals are, let's say they want to become a millionaire, you can show them how they would become a millionaire through buying single family homes, how many they'd have to buy, what kind of appreciation over what period of time, versus if they bought a multi-unit, how many multi-units or maybe just one, and then the fact that they're maintaining it over time. Okay, so stories and future pacing.
So in the future, yeah, I have to follow it, like you guys said. Yeah, and I show them the picture. In my case, I just show them like expenses, whatever they will pay each month, you know, like, and don't have the money. So I need to build kind of, yeah, strong picture. Like Erin says, like Angela, you might, yeah, like just build the picture in the future. And I pretty much sure, yeah, I need to look the people who has additional money on account, yeah, to keep this building, not next couple months if they got, you know, trouble.
Yeah, and I think it also goes back to like what Mike said, getting as much information as you can from them so that you can better understand what their goals are and what they're able to do at the moment. And I think it's important to, you know, go over the pros and cons. But I think if that's their goal, then yeah, you know, proceed with showing them this is what you get in the long run.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yep.
Yeah, painting those pictures, finding out what their goals are and painting future pictures or where that you're going to win. let me give another couple thoughts. I mean, all these topics are so fun to dig into. Uh, do you remember the DISC personality profile, the DISC? When you show all the expenses and the numbers, you're talking to the C's, the analyticals, but you're kind of probably throwing off the rest of the group. And so that's why you want to paint pictures of what a future could look like, especially based on whatever they told you. Let me give you one other quick idea that I was hit me while we were talking. And by the way, everybody's giving you great advice. I'm sure you're taking it in and you'll sort through it and decide what works for you. Yeah, I mean, you're a really sharp dude. One other idea is this: instead of talking about it or telling them, show them. Okay, so instead of talking about it, show them. So what I mean by that is say, hey, you know, I completely understand. Why don't we do this? Why don't I walk you through a rental house, and then I'm going to walk you through a rental fourplex, and I just want you to see what they look like, just so you can kind of feel. You know, a lot of people are tactile. You can feel what it would be like to be the owner of one of these different kind of properties. So actually walk them through. Take the time and walk them through, because in that process, Yevon, they may walk through and look at the house and go, okay, yeah, I can understand this. They may walk into the fourplex after they've just told you they're not so interested in it anymore, after you shared all the numbers, and they walk in and go, oh yeah, this is my dream. This is what I've been thinking about. This is what I've been visualizing in my head. Or this is what my aunt or uncle did 20 years ago, and now they're really well off. You know, there might be something that clicks that you just don't know till you walk them through it and they see it.
Yep. Very simple, but very nice. Yeah, very nice idea. Just to get them feeling how it's supposed
It's
to
a
be.
shocker. It's
Cool.
kind of what we were talking about earlier. You don't know what people are doing until you're in relationship with them. How many times have you've done a lot of business. How many times have you ever brought a buyer? You know, they've told you they want X property. They've defined it. They've explained it. My best example is, I want a fixer upper. I want a fixer upper property. And you start walking them through fixer uppers and they're like, no, no, nope. And then out of desperation, because you're running out of stuff, you walk them right through a property that's already been fixed up. And they're like, yeah, this is the one I want. You're like, right? Sometimes they just have to see it, right? They just have to see it. Other things that have bumped into me, I've already told the story, but I thought they wanted properties A and B. I thought for sure that's what they wanted. And then in desperation, I show them C, which doesn't meet their criteria at all. And this couple says, yeah, I want C. I want to buy C. And I couldn't figure out at the time why they want to buy C. It didn't match anything that they told me. It turns out C was a block away from grandma and they wanted to be near grandma, but I didn't know that. So, you know, you just have to walk people through properties sometimes for light bulbs to go off, for them to go, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And you'll find out more from them in that feedback as well, right? And then you'll know whether they really are. You start walking them through multi-units, you'll find out if they're a multi-unit person or not. You'll find out pretty quick, because they're going to ask questions. They're going to say, well, which unit would I live in? Which unit would I rent out? How much is that thing? Now you can say that's $1,000 per month, or that's $3,000 per month. They're seeing it. They're putting it all together in their head. Whereas just showing them on paper or even pictures is not the same as standing inside of it, three-dimensional, feeling it, and noticing the neighbors and everything else. So that's why I'm kind of pushing that idea. If you have someone that has interest, but they're waffling, start walking them through properties.
I wanted to
Yep, that's cool. Yeah, I'll try next time.
I wanted to reiterate what you
Go ahead,
just said there, Mike, about walking them through properties. In any sales, we talk about a client needs analysis or something like that. And I am like you, so many times you try to do as much as you can in advance, but once you're walking through the property, you learn a whole lot more about what their actual needs are. And this just happened this weekend when I was taking my new clients through houses to look at for investment. I had them send me houses that they liked. And so we went to some of those that they were interested in. But the one they got most excited about is one that I just tacked on as just an extra at the end. And that's the one they latched onto, even though it was not in the inventory that they had sent to me. So it just goes to show you never know which one it's going to be. And they don't know how to articulate sometimes what it is they want.
It's a great point.
Sometimes they don't
Blake.
know. Sometimes they also don't know what they want. And they're still trying to figure it out.
That's right. You guys hit it. That's why sometimes you just don't know till you walk them through. So that may be valuable. You have an Angela, you got something else there?
Well, I know we're starting to run late, but if I could share my screen, I'll share a couple of slides that I have in my presentation. I want to go back and make these slides better, but they're kind of rough right now. But so this is when I meet with the buyer first to go
Angela,
through.
you're available to show. You have the control now.
Okay. When I go through a presentation with the buyers and sellers, and at the end of the buyer presentation, here's a couple of slides. So this one, I try to explain to them appreciation and when you're investing in a property and you're holding it long term, what can happen. And so, for instance, this home in 2001 sold for 105, and then it sold recently for 300,000. And then I go into the numbers and painting the picture, but I feel like having this visual of a real life property helps. And then here's another slide. Again, I'm intending to make these better, but right now this was my quick and dirty one. So you have options. Yeah, you can buy one house. That's great. And that's still a great way to build wealth. Or you could buy 5 houses over time. Or here's the duplexes. So you could even add your fourplexes. But I think having that maybe in some kind of a presentation where you get really good at explaining their options and what that could look like for them, and then letting them make the decision on which direction they want to go in.
Good job,
That is,
Angela.
yeah, that is fantastic. Thank you, Angela. I'm glad this is on the recording. I'm going to go back and grab your screens. That's great stuff.
So Yevon, hopefully, thank you for bringing up the topic and letting us dive in. I'm going to go all the way to finish up. I'm going to go all the way back to, I think it was Aaron, might have been someone else. We all were pitching in. But that needs, I think, in fact, Blake said needs analysis, and Aaron was talking about the beginning. Probably everybody said it. But going back to the core of that initial interview and really digging into what they want to do. And during that process, start throwing out different options at them, right? So what exactly do you want to do? Please explain that to me. And then they're going to share. And then you just dig in. You just do your natural inquisitiveness of what that means to them. In fact, that may be the most important element to add is what does this mean to you? What will this do for you? Why do you think that this is valuable to you? How would this help your family or hurt your family? What do you think remember, I like to do the push away. It's a more advanced technique and people aren't always comfortable with it. But I'm telling you, you'll find out people's true colors because there's a resistance when we try to oversell. People will automatically shut down. So if you do the opposite, which is very scary to us as salespeople, we're like, why are you pushing them away? I'm not pushing them away. I'm trying to find out what they really want to do. So I'm giving them the opposite option, and then they will either say, yeah, that's I don't want to do this. I want to go over that other direction. Or wait a minute, Mike, I don't want to go over there. I want to stay here, right? That's why you're giving the opposite option. And the other thing, the beauty of the opposite option, it builds trust. It just builds trust. When you say, I don't know, are you sure you want to buy this house? And they say, yeah, Mike, I really want to buy this house. In their mind, they're going, wow, this guy he was open to me not buying this house. He's actually looking out for me. Does that make sense? All right, good. Well, hopefully, again, that was helpful in some way. And we have come out to the end of our time. So That's the end of our production call. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Now we'll quickly move into our huddle. We do a quick huddle. The objective of the huddle is just to get us focused on our day. And we're going to answer 2 quick questions. Number 1, what was the most productive? What is the number 1 thing you did yesterday to move your business forward? Yesterday, what was the number 1 thing to move your business forward yesterday? And today, what's the number 1 thing you're going to do to move your business forward today? Who would like to start?
I can start. So yesterday I got that listing agreement signed, and today I'm going to be working on getting the listing agreement, or getting the listing in place. So active.
Good job, Angela. Way to go. Way to move the business forward. Cool. Who would like to go next? Number 1 thing you did yesterday to move the business forward. Number 1 thing you're going to do today to move your business forward.
So yeah, I can go next. So yesterday, like at nighttime, like 2 of my past buyers sent me the same property. So I have to talk today. Who gonna see like from them, this property first. It's kind of like tough case, but yeah, I have to handle it. So they both investors and then wanna buy this condo, and it's little trouble because they live in both in the same building, and they send me the same kind of property in their building. So it's gonna be fun case. And the next things I want to plan to do today, it's I have like a multifamily right now, like 3 units. It's on private market right now, like so I will talk to my client to push it on active, MLS like listings site. So this is the things for today.
Fantastic, Yevon. Good luck with that. That's great. It's funny, Angela had a similar challenge with 2 of her people wanting the same property in the past. So these things come up. My quick thought for you is you can absolutely show both of them the same property. However, if they both want to make an offer on it, you're going to have a backup plan. So maybe one of the other agents in your office would represent one of them at that point, and you'd have to explain to everybody what's going on. But prior to that, I don't know if it's an issue yet because you don't know if they even want it. It just becomes a big problem if they both want it. Then you need to be prepared to have a backup plan, like you're going to hand off one of them to another agent that you trust to represent the interest of that buyer. Angela, do you have anything else to add to that since you've run through that recently?
If there are 2 people that I really don't work with that at a super level, I don't know how to explain it, but just I have all these investors reaching out to me all the time, and I can present properties to them. If it's a couple of those people, then I can explain, hey, I'm just going to be a transaction person. Are you okay with that? Or would you give them options, or would you like me to have another agent represent you that can actually go in and give you recommendations and things like that? Otherwise, I'm just a transaction agent. Or every state is different, every area is different, because my 2 states are completely different in this area, where in Texas, I have to represent one of the parties. And so the other party it's just a transaction. Okay, I'm getting a little bit confused here. But I think that it comes down to, if you are going to represent both of them, they both have to realize that that's what's going on and be okay with it. And I think that the easiest thing and the best thing for the client is usually to do what Mike said and I've also referred them out to where another agent gives me a referral fee and then but then sometimes that can be also hard because they might be like, well, why did you refer me out, but you didn't refer the other person out? So,
You can have a quick, easy answer for that. I've just known the other person longer. Whatever. You can have it. I flipped a coin. You can use that one. I flipped a coin. And you could just flip a coin
yeah.
to find out what was going to happen there. Anyway, good luck with that, Yevon. Sorry, we kind of went on a little tangent there, but good luck. I'm sure you'll figure out what to do. I don't think it's an issue unless one of them steps forward and says they want to actually be the buyer. Okay,
Right. Yeah,
cool.
thank you guys.
You bet, Yevon. Good luck with that. Either way, that's great news that you're working with so many folks. Who would like to go next? Blake?
I'll knock it out here. Yesterday, I toured a property that is currently occupied by a tenant, and the property owner is wanting to sell the property. And so I took photographs, listing photographs, really. And today I'm going to be uh, putting together kind of a plan of action, and then meeting with or at least by phone, trying to meet with the property owner.
Great. Have you met with the tenant?
Yes, the tenant was present when I was there yesterday,
Do you have a
which
good
was
relationship
good.
with the tenant?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a good relationship with the tenant?
The tenant was very courteous, and 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 we got along fine. Yeah, she was very helpful, helped me to, open every door, take photographs. She even apologized she didn't have the lights on when I got there in some of the rooms. Said no problem, no problem. So she was very, very courteous. Yeah, we were good. I talked to her on the phone before I got there. However, the tenant's expectations are different than the property owners. So, and I definitely was not gonna there's a property management company in between as well. So the owner doesn't even know the tenants. The property owner doesn't know the tenants. The property management company does. So I've got to work that a little bit too. So that's why I'm saying I've got to prepare my plan of action more so than anything else with the property owner, and see where we go from here, because the tenant was not given the same information that I was given about it's going to get sold.
Yeah, working with tenants on selling a property can be very difficult because you don't control the tenant and you got to show the property. So a couple quick thoughts. Number one, best thing to do right off the bat is ask the tenant, do you want to buy this property? Ask
Yeah.
the tenant, do you want to buy this property? Because first of all, it shows respect. Hey, maybe you want to buy this, you want to own this property. Second thing to do, by the way, is if they don't want to buy the property, say, oh, if they sold this and you move somewhere else, where would you go? Would you want to buy a different property? That's how I got my first piece of business, was just asking somebody who was in a property they were renting that was being sold, do you want to buy a place? And they did, and that was my first closing. So that's another thing to do. The other thing is you got to decide if you're going to try to sell it as a rental, like you're going to sell it to another investor. In that case, you want to keep the tenant in place in the cash flow system, or if the tenant's going to have to move out at the end. And if that's the case, which is common in single family properties or single units, then the tenant starts to push against that and resist it, turn down showings, not have properties prepared, etc. And if you're running into those problems, then you may ask the landlord, the owner, to create an incentive for the tenant to keep the property up. They'll double their deposit back. They'll pay them a bonus for moving out early, something. And we'll ask Angela real fast because she works in a lot of this area. But I'm just telling you, a lot of agents won't even list properties with tenants in it because of these challenges at the end that I was just talking about. And that's why you try to head it off at the beginning by saying, hey, do you want to buy this property? Maybe we'll put this together real quick, right? Do you want to buy a different property? Great, let's move you out and get you into another property, etc. Angela, do you have anything else to add? I know you work with a lot of these kind of properties.
Right. So the lease is a contract that goes with the property. As far as I know, that's pretty normal in most areas. So if their lease is not coming up, then you can negotiate the contract with them and offer them an incentive, which is kind of like a buyout. And so if they are open to that, then you could potentially say, okay, well, I will give you 2 free months of rent if I can give you 30 days notice once we get an offer, that kind of thing. Or you could just wait until you got an offer and negotiate something, depending on, because the buyer may want the tenant to stay. The buyer may be like an investor, and that's a plus to them to have a tenant that has a lease in place. So, but yeah, the buyout is pretty common, and but it can maybe have that conversation with the tenant ahead of time and say, we don't know what this buyer is going to want. What do you want? And they can say, well, actually, I'm kind of thinking about, finding a different place. And then you can say, well, if you stick this out and present the property well, take care of the property, agreeable to showings, then I'll offer you 2 free months rent at the end, which you can either reimburse that back to them or however you want to do it. But
All good advice. Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck, Blake. Congratulations moving forward on that listing. Aaron, would you like to participate today? Would you like to tell us the number one thing you did yesterday and the number one thing you're going to do today to move your business forward?
So with me being new, I've been getting all my stuff set up. I put my listings on the market yesterday. So I have 3 listings, and then I need to send out another contract for another listing that I have. So just working on that and I'm actually on my way to our realtor associate office here in Tulsa to get a lockbox for one of those listings.
That's fantastic. That's great news, Aaron. Good luck on the new listings.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And be sure to tap the resource of Angela if you have any questions as you're working to get that set up. All right, cool. All right. Yesterday I already told you, I was working on putting this listing in and found out that my client may want to buy. So I'll be following up on that today. All right. Good luck, everybody. Have a fantastic and productive rest of your day. Thanks for being here.
bye, guys.